Hi, everyone. Welcome to another podcast at Seamless 2025. When I think about the growing technology, we see that the population from unbanked to banked has increased. We have emerging banks, technology firms, as well as different payment methods. But with the rise of such technology and finances, there's another problem that we face with fraud. It's not only the digital fraud as well as physical fraud, it's trying to find ways to reduce the overall fraud prevention and percentage. With me today is Corey, who's the Chief Technology and Digital Officer at ID Centriq. They specialize in trying to find solutions to combat fraud and increase transaction level. Corey, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's glad to be here.
Glad to be here as well. Could you give our audience a brief of what ID Centriq does?
Absolutely. So we're a biometric-based identity platform. So it starts with ID verification. It's the foundation. If you don't have a strong foundation for onboarding people and verifying their identity, you don't really bring any value to the solution. So what we're trying to solve is fraud with synthetic identities. It's the primary reason that fraud exists today, and it's out of control.
I think in terms of customer orientation, a lot of companies focus on scaling their product quite quickly. Whereas they should be focusing on fraud prevention in the first place, like you said, as a base. How do you educate your customers to ensure that the priority first is on fraud prevention before scaling?
It's a good question. I think for us to have a valuable product, we have to evaluate what is the root cause of something.
Right.
If we just take assumptions and we think we've got a good idea without evaluating the true root cause, we're going to miss the mark and disappoint people. So I think what we're trying to do here at Seamless is to start to educate people why fraud exists. I think everyone has a fraud story.
Right.
I think, sadly, most people have fraud cases multiple times in their life, and some are more life-changing than others in a negative way. So I think once you start to think back of those experiences, you don't want to have those continued experiences. You were looking for what could I do that doesn't inconvenience me, but it solves the problem at the same time. So it is education.
I think it's a fine balance between finding solutions for consumers that help them ease their life, but at the same time involving an element of fraud prevention. If I were to think at the back of my head, I would probably think that a fingerprint would be the most unique or quickest way to actually identify each person. But I could be wrong. Is it only the fingerprint? Are there other means that you can do to see a unique print for a person?
Yeah, fingerprint is common. It's used in a lot of different countries, even at the national ID level.
Right.
But there's also been lots of cases where it's not secure.
Okay.
I mean, I think in India I can spend $2 to get a fake fingerprint in silicon. It's not complicated. It's not hard to fake that system. So that's not a sufficient solution. You need something that's stronger.
Right.
And fingerprint doesn't have enough unique points of interest either to do one-to-end. I can verify who you are, again, if there's no fraud involved. But I can't say with one fingerprint who you are out of an audience of 300,000 people even.
And what is the reason for that? Is it that there are certain markers within the fingerprint that are similar to other people?
Absolutely. It's what we talk about as unique points of interest. And if you don't have enough unique points of interest, then your false acceptance rate is going to be very high as the population starts to get larger and larger.
Right. As more and more people come, the UPI or unique points of interest would fade. What would be an alternative? Is it an iris? Is it another part of the body that could be used as a unique point of interest?
Yeah, we are putting all of our bets on palm vein technology.
Palm vein, okay.
And I wouldn't say that all palm vein technology is equal.
Right.
It's just like anything else. Fujitsu is actually the inventor of that technology.
Okay.
We partner with them for quite some time on their actual sensors. They do a very nice job. That's the highest quality sensor that we've tested.
Right.
And our platform is open. We support any sort of sensor that does a reading. However, we do have quality requirements because our platform, we boast less than one mistake in 100 million population as a false acceptance rate. So because of that, we can't accept any sensor. It has to have the right level of quality.
Right.
So I think that's a level of education that as people start to hear more about palm vein technology, they should ask those questions. And how much of a population can I use for that palm vein technology? Because again, some of them are only intended for 10,000 people, 1,000 people, because the accuracy isn't there.
I get it. As an event keeps growing, you would need more technology to actually screen and reduce the false acceptance. What is the biggest problem or concern that ID Centriq is trying to solve?
Yeah, it really comes back down again to fraud.
To fraud,
and,
yeah.
and the root cause of fraud. I've had my own personal experiences where people have taken my credit card and
Right.
charged them, and I've been fortunate enough where I haven't been out personally
Right.
liable for those funds, but I've talked to so many people that have had significant losses personally, and they were liable to pay for them. So
Right.
I have a passion to solve this problem, and I know that the real problem comes back down to how do I verify the identity of someone without creating too much friction that it's not practical in day-to-day life.
I think it's an interesting mix between convenience and time-saving methodologies.
Absolutely.
If you were to look in the next 5 years, based on the data available, where do you think the technology is going? Is it going to be with the palm or perhaps iris, or is this going to be another part that we don't know about?
I think it's multimodal. I think
Right.
you can't hang everything on a single one. But what I can tell you is that a single biometric, the palm vein, is absolutely the most secure. And part of it is the number of unique points of interest and the stability. The fact that those veins in your hand stay stable from the age of 18 onwards.
Right.
I mean, how many other pieces of the body can you
Yeah.
actually say that to? You can't. So
You
I know
can't.
that palm vein is going to be part of it. But we believe in additional modalities, which we include as part of our platform as well.
If you look on a client-facing section, what do you think has been the biggest win that you've had with clients, or what's the biggest project, if you would like to share, that you've had at ID Centriq?
Yeah, so Seamless, this is the first time we're really coming out. We've been in
Right.
stealth mode before this on purpose.
Okay.
We've been working on this for several years to make
Right.
sure that we had the technology right before we came out to the market.
Right.
This is important to us because we've been actually working with governments, particularly in the MENA region,
Right.
because we believe that there's that level of understanding of biometrics in MENA and the benefits of it, and people aren't overly concerned about misuse of biometrics because they've experienced that it's being used in the right way.
Right.
So I would say we're talking to governments, and I think we made an announcement today that we've just signed Ethiopia.
Congratulations.
And we'll be working
yeah.
with their national ID program. And there's many more to come. And again, it's very important that we work at that national ID level because it also enhances that trust.
Right.
Trust from citizens and residents that the biometrics and the identity verification is there and that there's not going to be fraud.
I remember walking to an airport in the UAE when I land. I already could see that there's a fingerprint, there's iris, and there's palm. How would you compare MENA's level of adoption at airports or at events versus those of other countries? Do we have a long way to go, or are we quite advanced?
Yeah, I do a lot of international travel, and I would
Right.
say that in MENA, there's, well, at least in the Middle East,
Right.
there is definitely advanced, biometrics being used. I haven't really seen palm vein yet.
Right.
I'd like to say that that's going to change very soon. But there's just technologies that are being used that aren't optimal for the use case. So I'll take the smart gates. Smart gates
Right.
are fantastic.
Yeah.
Much faster than just going to an
With your
agent
passport
and,
or Emirates ID,
and waiting forever. So that's a benefit. So what they do is they're loading in the population that's going to be in that airport.
Right.
So it reduces down the population because we know that facial, it
Yeah.
has limitations. It has less than 200 unique points of interest. So they're trying to reduce that population to help the technology. And they give a chance to recognize you by your face, but oftentimes they need your passport. So they try the face. If they realize there's lots of potential matches, they say, okay, give me your passport. You put your passport down, and now let's turn into a one-to-one technology, which facial is very, very good at. So I think the desire, the vision is there in a lot of countries. They know what they want. They just don't have the right technology. We believe that we solve that problem.
I think whenever I go through the airport, I put my passport both, and then I actually look at the screen. So I didn't know it was either or, but it's good to know. The final question is, how does ID Centriq market itself to bring brand awareness? Like you've obviously here at Seamless, is there any other plans in the future for ID Centriq to bring more awareness?
That's a fantastic question. We're first business to business. So we're really starting to educate, and we've been doing outreach to governments so that they understand our technology and our value proposition. We're also working with a lot of banks, issuers, and acquirers as well, because we think that we can revolutionize how payments are made. One of the biggest impacts to fraud is payments. It's a, I don't know, 30, 40, 50-year-old problem that we just haven't found solutions to. It's interesting. We put a lot of effort into how do we add security to cards?
Right.
But what we haven't really thought of is, well, how do we add security to the identity part? I think we've been focusing in the wrong area, actually. So that's how we think differently. So we are actually partnering with issuers, with acquirers, with those that are actually part of the ones that are paying the bill for fraud, and they're very, very interested to solve this problem. So we're going to be going to market with them. They're our partners, to consumers, and I think in the next year you'll start to see a lot more about our name and our subsidiary Payments Co. Because we will be ready and we'll be going into markets for consumers to adopt and use.
I think that's a very interesting way of looking at it, which is something that I've heard for the first time. Because at the moment, if you see the card technology, they have a 3D chip and pin. If the amount is beyond a certain, they'd send you an OTP. If the amount is even larger, the bank would actually call you.
Yep.
So the focus is on the card security. It's never been on the identity.
Exactly.
So I think it would be a good and refreshing approach for companies to actually look at the identity, how to secure that, as opposed to an SMS, an OTP.
100%. You nailed it. That's exactly the message that we're delivering. That's the thought process. That's our entire vision, actually. When our founder, actually, his name is Mohanad, he saw the sensor, actually. It was just a sensor, and he was placing his palm, and he realized, oh, wow, like this actually has so much power because of the unique points of interest and how quick, and it's contactless as well, so you don't have to worry about a fingerprint scanner. You have to touch it. And,
yes.
Well, since COVID, I think we're all a little bit more aware that we don't want to touch everything
That's right,
that everyone's touched, right? So that was really the vision as, oh, wow, this actually can solve that in-person identification without any other, I don't need to give a card and then, my biometric. I can simply just wave my hand over and that's it. So not only do we have the identification verification down, but we also have a seamless user experience. I think that this is the first solution that I've personally seen, and I've been in this industry a long time, that I'm both doing fraud prevention that's very strong, and I'm not adding any friction. I think I'm actually reducing the friction. I don't have to pull out my wallet, fumble for a card, or take out my phone, fumble for that. It's just a simple wave.
Everything is a very quick and seamless way of doing things. Corey, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you
wish
for
you
having
all
me.
the best.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.